especially with Tai Chi, the reason that is so slow, again, because when focus is the problem in a human beingness, one of the ways to bring it back is to slow down. Because the world, like you mentioned before, everything is fast this, fast that, fast everything, right? So in order to be actually most efficient and most fast, you have to slow down. So I got fast in martial arts because I slowed down.
Welcome to the Everyday Epigenetics, raw, real, relatable podcast. We're your hosts, Susan Robbins, certified epigenetic human performance coach,
and Kate King, licensed psychotherapist, board-certified art therapist, and award-winning author. Together, we bring two perspectives, two styles, and one shared passion for epigenetics.
On this podcast, we delve into topics such as environment, nutrition, fitness, mindset, social dynamics, and trauma as they pertain to epigenetic expression in a way that's relatable to everyone.
We recognize that everyone's needs are unique. There are no one-size-fits-all solutions for your mind, body, and heart. The true magic lies within you.
So if you're ready to create a radiant life through epigenetics and reclaim your authentic self, then buckle up. Here we go. Welcome to the Everyday Epigenetics, raw, real, relatable podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Susan Robbins, certified epigenetic human performance coach, and I am here with the lovely
Kate King, licensed psychotherapist, board-certified art therapist, and award-winning author.
This is the place where we talk about everything lifestyle and environment and how it relates to our genetic expression. And I am really quickly here going to turn this over to my co-host because this is a personal connection of hers. So I'm going to let her tell you about today's topic and today's guests. Kate, take it away.
Thank you. I'm so excited to introduce our guest to you guys today. I have known this incredible human for, Mark, 10 years, 12 years,
Something like that.
600 years. Feels like we've known each other a long time. And there's so much incredible about you that I'm really excited to introduce you to our listeners. And I'll just read a just brief part of your bio so people can know where you're coming from. So Marek is a martial arts instructor and a holistic wellness guide. He studied martial arts such as Chinese Kung Fu and kickboxing since 2002 and has taught since 2007 when he also discovered the ancient practices of Tai Chi and Qigong and began to explore their hidden powers over the years. So I know you, Marek, as you're like the martial arts guru in my life. And what I think's really unique and cool about the work you do is that it's physical, but it's also energetic and spiritual. And you use mental, psychological components. You have this beautiful bridge between Eastern and Western modalities and practices. And I always think that when it comes to healthy genetic expression, living a healthy life, I think we have to source from kind of lots of different places. I think Western medicine has its gifts, but Eastern medicine feels really counterbalancing, right? And so I think of that when I think of you and your approach to health and well-being as you're just really balanced and informed from lots of different practices. And I am excited to just chat with you a little bit more about how epigenetics fits in when you incorporate movement, when you incorporate energy, and some of these really ancient philosophies that I think you've come to know really well. So maybe first, if you want to just let us know a little about who you are and just expand upon my little introduction, give the listeners a little bit of your background.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. First off, thank you for having me. Appreciate the invite. And again, it's been quite a while since we've known each other, although don't visit as much as perhaps we each might like, but we're both busy people. It's yes, the practice that I have been doing for the last several years and really just made it my own practice and then sharing it with other people is kind of combination of Chinese arts mostly, and then a little bit of the Western philosophies as well as the Eastern philosophies. So Western as the Hermetics philosophies, and then Eastern, obviously the Chinese Kung Fu, Tai Chi, Qigong, and practices around that as a healing practices as well as a self defense. So the company that I established is called Eclectic Ground, and it was meant to be basically, like you were saying, a little bit of a lot of things under one roof, basically in one ground, one common ground where people would basically learn about themselves and y- approach their own being, really beingness from from perspective of like where am I vulnerable and why should it be a downfall for me? It in fact it isn't really. Of course, it's our vulnerability often reveals something that is hidden, something that is hindering some sort of a blockage. And I'm experimenting with this stuff myself. I've been able to reveal a lot of little blockages that have hindered my energy for a long time. And if I wanted to succeed in some sense of with this work that I've been doing that I really enjoy, I had to look at a lot of the parts where I was quote unquote leaking the energy. And if you have a beautiful boat, you take care of your body, you take care of your psyche, emotions, whatever as well, but you have holes in that boat, no matter what you put in there, it's just gonna leak right out. And finding that out earlier on in my personal life, I was like, okay, we're gonna have to dig a little deeper here. And so my martial arts start with these ancient philosophies quickly turned into, okay, there is a little bit more behind this. There's this energy aspect. What is that about? So I started to explore right away as, okay, so Qigong, what is that? Tai Chi. Okay, I've heard about that. I thought it was for old people. So it's like, why would I want to do that? And I had no clue what I was going in for, but I'm very happy that I have dipped my toes in this space and basically revealed a lot of my personality, a lot of just my students, helping them out with their personalities and through the practice, through physical practice. So it's not just like talking about something, even though talking about something is extremely important to get the ideas out, basically to make yourself aware, really, to make yourself aware of what you're doing in your life. And then accepting those parts of you that you felt like you'd had to reject first, and then moving on with how do I make it that real? How do I implement it in my life? What actions do I take? So going from that mental through the astral body, through the emotions and feelings into the physical body, into the actions. And so that has always been kind of a trend in my own psyche, and then now later basically implementing it into my business.
Can I ask a question?
Please.
I'm an interrupter, so I'm trying.
I
I'm trying
take
to
it.
chill it, but because I'm thinking of this as I'm listening to you, Marek. You were talking about. I want to hear more about a little more about your story
Mhm.
because I did creep on you online before this. I'm like, I need to check him out, see what he's about, and I went onto your website, and I thought the this interesting thing was how you came into this, and you talked about you were yeah, you went and asked basically the universe to show you, talk to you, and tell you, where do I need to go? But before you go there, my question is when you were talking about your holes that you needed to fill, things that were broken, were these mental, like emotional things that you were tagging on, or was it physical, or was it a combination of the two? Because I think, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but from what I read and listening to you now, that's what led you to saying to the universe, okay, talk to me, give me the download of what I need to do.
Yes, yeah, absolutely beautiful. Thank you for that invite. Yeah, it was a combination really of all those things for the holes, at least if we could talk to that first, in the sense that first of I started to notice myself, obviously, self-awareness, and I started to notice that, "Hey, I'm actually doing that, what I'm not liking about those other people. That's weird. Oh, okay." And so when that awareness kicks in and you start actually noticing that you're doing the very things that you're judging about others, a lot of things starts changing. And so that was obviously going from the mental through emotional, because a lot of these things are deep seated, as obviously you guys both know. And finding out what those, like I said earlier, those holes were emotionally, where I got stuck, or I like to say snagged, and what was holding me back from just becoming the, I don't know, want to say better version of myself, but just becoming that whole soulful being. So it was really on all three levels, I would say, those emotional, mental, as well as the physical parts of me. I used to have a knee pain that was to the point that I was like, I had hard time walking every now and then. And that just went away basically after a while, through some work, obviously some mental work, emotional work, physical work as well. And then I used to have headaches, like migraine headaches. I don't get those anymore because I figured out what's behind it, how I created that, and that just went away with that. So it's a little bit of all of that. And so to hopefully that kind of gives you some idea. And the other part of your question that was more about my story, how I
Mhm.
got into this was, yeah, it was a bit of an accident in some sense as well as not. It was more of a providence, and since I was always interested in martial arts as a kid, we didn't have a way to do martial arts in town. So I didn't really get to it until my adulthood, when I left the house and was able to fend for myself, kind of thing. I actually went to England. That was first I was 21 and I was learning English then. So it was my first year of learning English, 21, and that's where I started martial arts because it was available. And since then, I've been obviously on that path, and then went to China because I was like, okay, China sounds great. I want to go there to see the Taoists. I don't know why the Taoists. Why not for instance, what's it called? Gosh, everybody knows the Shaolin Temple, right? So it's the birth of martial arts in some sense, right? So why was I looking into Taoism? Why not Buddhism, for instance? Okay. And not to take it to a different conversation here, just on on a side note, I even had a psychic mediumship training and then readings and stuff like that, and that was revealed at one point that I had a connection with Taoism, and this woman who was doing the reading never met me before, and she's just, I'm like, okay, that's an interesting thing. That's a kind of coincidence. Didn't really give it much of a thought then, but as things start to happen in my life, I started to notice more and more of this kind of a correlation, and so I was like, okay, this is interesting. Back to I went to China 2007 to learn more kung fu because I was like young. I wanted to jump around and make sure that I know how to protect myself and stuff like that. It was a big thing for me, being a small frame. And I, on the second day of training, that was going to be there for 1 month. And the second day of training, I hurt my knee so much so I couldn't walk, couldn't stand on
Wow.
my leg, so couldn't really do anything. I was like, okay, damn, what am I gonna do now?
Now
So
what?
I have a month left to be here. So I guess I will give this Tai Chi thing a whirl. Some seems slow and boring. I'll try it. Yeah. So it was a bit of a, like I said, accident in that sense, almost literally. My knee got healed fairly well, fairly quickly though. They did some magic acupuncture over there. It was pretty cool. Um,
Oh,
and I was basically able to walk again next day. Was a little weak, but I was fine. And but I did start Tai Chi and then Qigong as well, and I was like, "This is very interesting," and really actually majorly, dramatically improved my martial arts skill. Tai Chi is I don't know, some of the spectators here may know it's martial art as well as a healing practice. They refer often to as meditation in motion. We can go a little bit more deep into that if you guys are interested, but I didn't want to delineate that unless you have something, if you have something else on mind anyway. So,
I think I interviewed Craig, and I'm sorry, Craig, because your last name is escaping me right now, and I know it plain as day. But he was from across the pond in Britain. I interviewed him last year on Qigong.
hmm
And so I don't really know much about Tai Chi, but what's the difference between, from what I understood, the Qigong was very much a breath and awareness.
hmm
It, so much of that, I think, is more than a martial art, but I don't know. So for our listeners, and maybe Kate too, 'cause I don't know if she does, but what would be the difference between the Tai Chi and the Qigong?
yes, absolutely. I get that question quite a bit, and it's a very, very good question. In fact, for most people, some people don't even really know the practices, or at least one of them. But the difference there is primary is that Qigong is not a martial art. Tai Chi is a martial art. Tai Chi has Qigong in it. Qigong does not have Tai Chi. So if I make it a little bit broader in this sense, is that think of a Tai Chi as a slow motion kung fu, the movement. Let me say it this way. But what's happening inside of the practitioner, in the mind, in the astral body, in the feelings, emotions, in the physicality from inside, is that there's a perception of energy as you're moving. Like the awareness that, for instance, if I move my hand like this, if I did that same movement through water, you'd see ripples, right?
Mhm,
But because I'm moving through air particles and through space, the eyes don't see anything. But I'm aware that I am moving the space as I'm moving my hand, for instance, or my body, or however I'm moving. I am present with elements. I am present with my physical body, with my feelings, with my thoughts, etc. So being in that moment, in that time, which is why it's the meditative practice, and obviously it's in the movement that is very specific, that movement. So in Tai Chi, obviously, like I said, it's a martial art. So all of the movements are martial moves. So so for instance, if I did movement like this, that would be an arm break, for instance, or a trap of the or a head, or there's few applications for each movement. But if obviously people ask, why are you doing that so slowly? The reason behind that is that you practicing embodying really this perfection of that movement. Tai Chi Chuan is translates as the great ultimate fist or set of movements. And they call it fist, but it's like a set of movement is or form, we would say in this in the West. But the great and the ultimate, why those two words? And it's
mhm,
the idea behind it is that the Tai Chi has the Qigong in it. The Qigong part is that awareness that you're using within yourself to actually do this movement. So
Mhm.
if that makes hopefully a little bit more sense at this point.
it does.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
the Qigong is, like, the energetic piece, Mark. I think this is, like, baby Qigong that I've learned, but maybe this is the very basic
Mhm.
practice, but what I've done is sitting with my hands open on my knees until I can feel the tingling on each of my
Mhm.
hands, and then imagining, visualizing that tingling are like two energetic orbs, and then slowly bringing my hands together and putting the energetic orbs into one big energetic orb, and then pulling and pushing and feeling the reverse magnet, the pulling like toffee, how you can actually move your energy.
Mhm.
That's about as far as I've gotten into Qigong, but can you is that sort of the foundational practice there?
Yes, very much, and it's very much so that. Thank you for posing that as well, because yes, there's hundreds of different kinds of qigong. A lot of them are specifically just tied to body movement. A lot of them are also tied to body movement and breath. Let me say it that way. So breath, qi translates as the word qi alone can mean air, can mean breath, can mean gas can mean there's like several meanings behind that word, but the Qigong means practice or work. But the Qigong together is basically an energetic practice, or so the Chinese have delineated out of this. So,
Mhm.
so then the practice really is not just the breath. It's not just in the movement or whatever else there is that, which is also very important. I can go more deeply into this because it has to do with the fascial stretch specifically, as well as the breath practice, as well as the visualization. So there are components of that, and what you were introducing, Kate, is very much the beginners. The start for qigong, being aware of the presence of your energy and the energy of the space,
Mhm.
and being able to differentiate what is your energy and what is the energy of the space. Okay, so starting first with actually putting your awareness outside of yourself. I know it may not make necessarily sense, but like you were saying, the space between your hands versus the hands themselves or the body itself, because we're in that space in the mind a lot, and it becomes like a second nature, it becomes familiar. But if you put yourself in your awareness, I'm sorry, if you put your awareness onto a space between your hands or just like outside of yourself, let's say right here, just be aware of this space right here, whatever, then your perception starts to change. And
Mhm.
with that change of perception, now you're embodying because you are perceiving it from yourself, and you're paying attention with your own mind to the space that exists. This is again, I mean, there's a lot more to this. This is just the very beginning. And then one of the practices that we do at the very beginning for the beginners is that paying attention to your own breath, which is obviously the start of the meditation, but truly really feel like your lungs are expanding, like how they're contracting. And as they're doing it, you have your hands in front of you and you're mimicking that movement of your lungs moving out and lungs moving in, and just feeling the space and matching it with your breath. And as your breath slows down, as you go longer and longer, you become more and more aware of the space and less of your breath. This is just one thing. Plus the visualization, which you're alluding to. There's the feeling of like your palms are magnetic, feeling of the space being magnetic, feeling of having a light coming out of your hands or a light bulb like you're playing with. And then there's the Qigong is obviously a healing practice, as I was saying earlier, and is used also in martial arts, is really used in anything. So you can do a self-healing practice where you point your awareness on parts of your body wherever you feel you have tension or wherever you feel you have some obstruction or dis-ease, and focusing that I don't want to even say that focusing your awareness on that, which you do, but it's like you're accepting as that part of your body that has tension in it, you accepting that it already is healed, that it's already in perfect state. You're accepting that in your mind. So it's more of the like a mind work as well. And then the high level or the practitioners who have been doing qigong for like years, they're able to warm up their hands physically. They're able to make a cloth, wet cloth, make steam with their hand. They're able to move objects. They're able to not just being telepathic or whatever. Those are skills. They can be developed. And again, it's just like it has a level. It's just like everything does. But that's the some qigong practitioners can do amazing things. Like I saw a guy who put a chopstick through a table.
Wow.
I
Like,
mean,
really
there's
playing with matter, playing
yeah,
with
there's really no boundary to
Wow.
what mind can do. Actually,
mm,
you can go from the simplest things to like mind blowing stuff. And
Mhm.
there's doctors in China still to this day, and known, some of them are known more, some of them less, that are able to extract tumors from bodies with their hands. So,
mm.
okay.
Yeah, this is
I
the
think
kind of thing where I've heard people say about magic that
Yeah,
maybe magic is just science we don't understand yet. It
absolutely it is.
seems like it's
like the fufu,
yeah, it
Yeah,
seems magic because
right?
we can't define it or explain it, but maybe
exactly.
at some point in the future we will be able to explain it, and I think we're getting there with quantum physics.
100%, exactly.
That's what I was thinking, because I've done some meditations that were quantum jumps, things like that, and it was all around now tune into the space around you. And it is just a very different feeling, and you can feel the feet tingle, the
Yeah.
hands tingle when you create that awareness. The other thing I tuned in to what you said about when you say you have an ailment within the body, and then you tune into that, and it's having a peace with it's okay. And
Mhm.
how much do we hear all the time of fight cancer, fight
Yeah,
that disease? And
yeah.
that's a stress word.
Yeah, yeah, that's the very thing that
Now,
created the cancer to begin with.
when we can find that peace, and that's what I tell my clients is, I'm not telling you you're staying where you are.
Yeah,
This is where you are now. When you find peace, that this is where I am at this moment, and not I have to fight it.
yeah.
And as a Lyme disease person, that's what I was told, fight Lyme, fight Lyme. And
Mhm,
when I got into the epigenetics, the chief medical officer of the group that I got certified to do the DNA, I met at a conference. This is
mhm,
how I found the DNA. And I said to we'd started talking about this DNA stuff that I was just didn't understand. And I said, "Well, I have Lyme disease," and he said, "I don't care what you have." I was like, "Jeez." And
mhm.
he said, "It doesn't matter. When you focus on everything you need to be optimal and where you are, as opposed to you have to keep looking for what's wrong, then you just keep finding more of what's wrong, and you're creating more that's wrong
Exactly.
through that stress." So that's what I tuned into, or I really keyed in on when you talked about that. I've
Yeah,
seen it with myself, I've seen it with people when you find that peace, and it sounds like that's what all of this brings together is just that peace and awareness that creates that peace in you to just
absolutely.
say, "It's okay. I'm okay today." That
Mhm.
in the moment where we're so focused on what's happened in the past, or, "Oh my god, what's gonna happen tomorrow?"
Yeah,
Instead of finding that peace.
yeah,
Go ahead.
absolutely. No, 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 it's absolutely, yes, this is the essence, really. So if you have in China, in this context, the Chinese, obviously, you guys seen the yin and yang symbol, right? So this is a big thing because again, this is talking about the opposites, the polarity of the world in a single circle that is basically that unites the both polarities, right? So we have the wholeness in which the polarity exists, and polarity, the day and the night, the pain and the joy, or however you want to call the polarities, right? So there's millions of them. But for instance, the space, like you were saying earlier, is that one of the reasons that people are have a success in meditation where they really tune themselves into the spaciousness, that's the yin, that's the darkness, that's the receiving end, is that it is ultimately infinite. It's the pure potential, like you say, the quantum, right? That's the spaciousness, it's the infinity. When you tune your mind, your own mind into the sense of infinity, there really is no problems anywhere, really. The mind is just because how do you perceive infinity? Mind doesn't even know. It can't calculate that. And that's mind's job. Mind's job is to protect the body, to protect itself, its environment, etc., to have a vehicle for the soul, right? To make sure that you can actually experience what you came here to experience. But if you put the mind into the infinity, it's like it's gone for that moment. The mind is not there. Basically, it's just
Yeah.
to be. The chatter stops and all that kind of stuff. And then the yang part of this, the of yin and yang, is the light. So we have the darkness, the receiving end, and then we have the light, the giving end, or the expansion or explosion kind of thing, like a sunshine, rays of light. And in those two worlds, obviously united, is the wholeness. So having both of those ends, and this is a big practice or this is a big context or concept behind these practices, whether it's Tai Chi, whether it's Qigong, in Kung Fu, whatever martial arts, supposedly anything that you actually do in your life, whether you're writing a book, whether you are watching a movie, whether you are eating a meal, hanging out with your friends, whatever you're doing, having this perception, you are in this world as a whole. There's nothing missing from you, and whatever you feel like is actually wrong or there is a problem of sorts is only a story of the mind, a pretty good one. And I don't want to take this lightly. A lot of times when we're in it, and I have compassion for people, I have compassion for myself, and this is like when you're in it, it hurts. It hurts so much. And so it's if I'm unaware of what's behind, I just compassion is needed. Once I'm aware of what's behind, now I have a choice. For people who are hurting and don't realize what's behind there, compassion is absolutely necessary. And then once they have realized, "Oh, you know what? I have created this story. Damn. Oh. Oh." You
I
know?
just had that experience.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, pretty much almost every
yesterday, I'm
day.
like, "How did I create this
Right.
hell that I
Right.
just made?" I created it. It's all the perception. It's just that everything you just said just hit me. I'm like, "My God,
Yeah. Yeah.
you've
100%
been living in
perception.
my place apparently for."
So with the movement piece of Tai Chi,
Mhm.
it strikes me how slow it is and how in our culture of speed and efficiency and hustle, it's so counter to that. And I always just think of the nervous system with everything these days. And I wonder, Marek, can you speak to the way that Tai Chi impacts the nervous system and maybe helps to bring forward a parasympathetic response that can soothe us, that can decrease our inflammation, can help us combat diseases, help us find balance in our mental and physical health?
Yeah.
I feel with all of this mental, emotional, psychological, I wonder if the Tai Chi is where the physical comes in and the nervous system is the portal for it to connect.
Absolutely. I thank you for, again, beautiful question and ideas behind. And it's not, I will have to say, it's not only in Tai Chi that there is this possibility of healing the nervous system or just allowing it to function appropriately, let's just say.
Mm.
But it's in yoga, it's in really any sport. As long as you're doing something with a sense of, I love this. Whatever it is that you're doing, I just love doing this. That's where the changes are happening. Now, especially with Tai Chi, the reason that is back to your question again, is that it's so slow again because when the focus is the problem in a human beingness, the one of the ways to bring it back is to slow down, because the world's like you mentioned before, everything is fast this, fast that, fast everything, right? So in order to be actually most efficient and most fast, you have to slow down. So I got fast in martial arts because I slowed down.
Such a
That's
paradox.
and that
We're human beings, not the human doings.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so by practicing the principles that the Tai Chi teaches is the relaxation, the release of the tension that you find in your physical body. And like I said, there's layers of release of the tension that you find. And I'm not saying all tension is bad. Sometimes we need tension. Yeah. Because it's the yang part. It's like tense, right? That's the positive. That's the go. The yin part is the feminine, the receiving, the release, the relaxing, the chilling. That's the energy, and it's important equally, but this world has been so young, that so pushy, is that there is no time for relaxation, for release, not enough, let me say it that way. So most of us walk around with our shoulders at our ears and don't even know that. I say to my students, "Relax your shoulders a bit," and they're like, "Uh-huh." I'm like, "Okay, you can let go now," and I just tap them and they go, "Oh, I didn't even realize I was tense."
Yeah, and with the shoulders, sometimes if you're not aware that they're tense, you can tense them even more and make it
Exactly.
really dramatic, and
Yeah.
then you
Mhm.
let go and you release because it becomes more intentional.
Yeah, and so what happens most of the times with the students is that once I remind them, they drop them, but a few seconds later, they're back. And what's the reason
Mhm.
behind that? And I was like, okay, earlier on, I was asking this question, what's the reason behind that? Psyche. So it's the mind that says, I'm not safe. Something in my world tells me I'm not safe. Might not even be the current situation. Might be situation from 25 years ago, from 10 years ago, whatever, whoever is listening. If you have, for instance, most people have some sort of a scar. You guys have scar, yeah?
Mhm.
Yeah. When
Yeah.
was when was the last time you thought of your scar?
I don't know. Maybe yeah.
Yeah,
It's
I
right.
look down.
it's become just part of my li I look
Exactly,
down at
exactly.
my knee and I see my scars from my surgery from 25 years ago, and they're just part of my knee.
Thank you. You pointed it out so beautifully, I couldn't have said it better, in the sense that you integrated it, or the scar is integrated into your body.
Yeah.
Happens with our thoughts that cause this tension in our bodies is that we continuously think of these traumas that we used to respond to as a child, as you guys both know in this especially you, Kate, from your field, is that the traumatic responses we have created in as a child, which was our best coping mechanism at the time, we have repeated now every day. Now imagine, go back to the scar, that you wake up in the morning and you look at your scar and you go, "Oh my God, that hurt like hell. That's crazy." And you next day you wake up again and you go, "Oh man, that scar, I don't know. It's gonna stay there my whole life." And you wake up again and then you do the same thing for 20 years. What do you think is gonna happen to you?
It will feel
The
terrible. It
scar is probably never healing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It doesn't integrate, doesn't have a chance to actually integrate into the body. So
It's
similarly
all what you focus on.
exactly. It's so similar with what we perceive as attention in our physical body. And so the practice of Tai Chi, to come back to your question, is that the primary thing is the relaxation, the release. It's called Gong practice. That's practice of release. And so what we do literally physically practicing. So your spine rises up at the back of your head. Your tailbone sinks down like you want to sit down. So your spine feels this decompression. Don't do that with muscles, because then you're just going down and up. You do that with intent. So you're intending rising and you're intending sinking with your spine. That's the first. Then you feel your shoulders releasing, literally feel the ball in the socket shoulder joint, tendons, ligaments around, and just let them all soften. And then you feel your elbows, your wrists, your hands, your hips, your knees, your ankles. And so as you're standing, the hardest are the legs because you're standing on them with a bunch of weight on them. And so how do you release tension from a joint that has weight on it? And so this is what Tai Chi teaches, and this is what I also take my students through and let them understand. Once they start understanding their physical body a little bit better in detail, they start to be a lot more aware of where they're holding tension and when. And so I also tell them, so don't just do this in the practice in Tai Chi class. You go home, you brush your teeth, you're standing in front of the mirror, soften your joints as you're brushing your teeth, stretch your spine, relax your breath. That's another thing is the breath practice, okay? So slowing down the breath helps you release the tension from the physical body. We know that, but who does that really? A few people, luckily. But again, just bringing awareness to the breath and slowing down, so allowing the soft tissue within the body to release. And that brings me back to fascia. Okay, so what's the fascia? Fascia is the filler tissue within the body. It's the web that is, if it's deteriorated and crusty and stale and hard, you are stiff basically, and you're gonna have ailments and disease and stuff like that's gonna show up. Gonna have troubles moving, right? And then if your fascia is actually active, it's moist and it's spongy and it's springy and as good movement, then you're going to have less of that obstruction in your body, and the body's going to be healthier. And the
Mhm.
fascial stretching, for instance, is that one of the practices that we also do that is supported by a breath be the release of the tension from the joints. So for instance, if I stretch my arm, let me see the camera back there. Okay, so if I stretch my arm and I'm stretching out and I'm reaching my arm through all my joints, getting longer and longer and longer. Can you see that?
Mhm.
Getting
Yeah.
longer and longer and longer as I can, as far as I can go. Now, I did that with activating my muscles. So now I will release the muscles a little bit in my joints. So I just relax into that. But I keep stretching and reaching with that relaxation. Now I will add a rotation. This is in yoga as well. It's just that most people don't actually know how to practice that or don't some teachers don't point it out. So that you twist, 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 and stretch, 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 and release the tension while you're doing that. Now the inside tissue, the fascial tissue, the web, it's everything is twisting and stretching. It's activating. And back to the what you mentioned with the nervous system, Kate, is that fascia actually transfers energy 5 times faster than nerves.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, this is you can look it up. There's few mentions about it. It's not very easy to find, but there was few research researchers that have done research about fascia. This is fascinating, actually. Fascia has such a huge role in our life, and very few people understand that. These days, it's becoming a lot more known, but just even 5 or 10 years ago, this was unknown, literally. And so the
Mhm.
fascial system carries the energy 5 times faster than nerves. And so when the energy is in the system, high, running, the disease, the low frequency bacteria, they don't have a chance. They don't stand any chance, basically. So this is again how Tai Chi can, or Qigong practice, obviously, because the Qigong is in Tai Chi, can
Mhm.
improve your life if you really are doing it. And again, comes down to practice. So what's practice? Doing it over and over. Some people say, "Oh, this is so much fun," and they come to one class, two classes, and then you don't see them ever again. And it's okay. That happens. You just weren't motivated enough to actually do something for yourself. You weren't in a space where
Yeah.
you were ready for the action part. So,
Yeah,
The
absolutely.
couple things that I wanna touch on here, I've been taking through this group that practitioners and wellness professionals, they keep track of things from like an aura ring
mhm,
to get all the metrics and specifically heart rate variability.
mhm,
When I listened to the first webinar, and this is the doctor we're actually going to have on heart rate variability and the vagus nerve,
mhm,
he said that breath work is the window to the nervous system. So you were really stressing that, and I listened to, and I actually started just within the last probably 6 weeks or so, really incorporating that breath work in myself. Specifically at night, where I was having a lot of issues with sleep, and I have a lot of issues genetically with sleep. It is a 100% game changer. It blows my mind, how much of a difference that's made, whether it's going to sleep, waking up, and getting back to sleep, unbelievable. But I listened to a webinar 2 days ago from this same group. Now he's an exercise scientist, a PhD, and he works with, I believe it was the Ohio State University wrestling team.
mhm,
And he was showing metrics. This was back from like 2018, I believe. I could be wrong. I think it was 2018. But he was showing, because again, they use the heart rate variability because it's all about when you have that low HRV, then we know that we're sympathetic system driven and we want to get that HRV up. They're saying it's one of the biggest metrics that you can use. Now, I know that, and I wanted to ask you if you use that in a practice with any of your people, or is it really just gaining that awareness? So that's one question I'll ask. But where I wanted to touch on it, because it was something else you said, these were all wrestlers that the one had won 3 state champions in high school, state championships, and now he's in college and they're seeing his HRV plummeting and his performance was reflective or correlative of that, just tanked. So the coaches call up this guy and they're like, you got to help him. So he looks and he starts tracking the heart rate variability, and he would see it go up, and then at practice, like on days when he had to work, it would plummet again. And he said, "This guy's not having any fun." And here you were saying, "I love this." He said he was looking at doing the practice and everything as work, which stimulated that sympathetic system even more. And so he pulled him from practice, and the coaches were all over him, over the doctors saying, "What do you mean you're taking him out of practice? Is what, dialing him back? He needs to practice more." And he said his sympathetic system is he's seeing this as a job or as something super stressful. So they did all these different things with him, did fascia work, brought in the relaxation, breath work, and he ended up, I think they said that I think he was All-American that year. But they showed his performance, the HRV through performance after working with him, and they said, "Oh my god, the light bulb came on. We need to use these type of things." Such a difference in that mind and, with that sympathetic and parasympathetic. So question, do you use with yourself or anybody else any metrics that make them aware, "This is what this is actually doing to your body?" And yeah, that's my big question. Do you
Sure thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't use HRV monitors. I bought one a long time ago, and I just for fun of it, I was interested in the same manner that what were you just talking about now. At this point, I just feel people what they're doing, what they're
Yeah,
feeling themselves. My
that's what I figured.
my empathy has gone up really significantly as I have been clearing these obstacles within myself. And so the feeling of my students, like they walk in a room or I walk in the room and I'm like, okay, what's wrong with you? What's going on? It's instant. And this is not
You're a human detector.
exactly. And we all are. We all are. It's just, uh, do you, have you practiced that or have you not practiced it? So some people have it stronger, some people less strong. That's all it is. But big point to that. I love the story that you shared about that because the it really comes down to perception. And again, I mean, if you're having fun or not having fun, that's all that it is in sense. Are you loving what you're doing, or are you doing it because of there's some obligation? Those are the two things. There's not much else in between. Either you enjoying what you're doing or you're not enjoying it. And if you are doing something that you're not enjoying because you have to or so you feel you have to, just decide for yourself, really, is this worth of my energy? And or can I change my perspective about this at this moment? Let's say that you're visiting family members that you don't necessarily care about, but you should show up to support mom and dad or whatever, I don't know. And so you go because you want to support mom and dad, but you don't necessarily like your brother, your sister, or whoever is their cousin, I don't know. And but you kind of like get through it. And so can you really change your mind around that? Say, you know what? It is what it is. They're human being. I'm human being. I struggle with some stuff. They struggle with different things. I accept them. I respect them. Doesn't mean I'm going to hang out with them, but I respect them. Can you shift around it and accept that and move on with your life? Absolutely.
Mhm.
Now, if you don't do that, you're going to feel triggered. I, this word is thrown around these days a lot, but you'll get triggered. And that trigger is really an opportunity. I love one of the things about in Chinese, the character for crisis and opportunity is the same. It's the same
Mm.
character means crisis and opportunity. I think Kate and we I think talked about it before. And so with that in mind, it's every trigger is the opportunity to notice for yourself where you are not free. What's holding you back? Where you snagged? What's preventing you loving your life, loving the situation you can be in? What's preventing that? And so for me, these are my detectors. And again, I love technology and the technology these days is amazing. And a lot of things are measurable, which is so cool because it just validates what the Tai Chi people who created this practice in the 12th century knew back then. We're just finding out and confirming it with our quote unquote technology. But
Some need to see. They need to actually look at it and go get shocked into that, right?
Yeah, and it's so what we've lost, I feel, is the over the centuries and millennia, whatever we have lost is the being in touch with the self, being in touch with nature.
Absolutely.
It's the nature cycles, the elements, the nature cycles, and Qigong is big into this, is the elemental practice a lot. So perception, awareness of the elements within oneself. It's like you can be
Mhm.
fiery, kind of like if we talk about Ayurveda a little bit. There's the Pitta Kapha Alpha, sorry, Pitta Kapha Vata, the personalities, the main personalities, and the combination of them, right? So similarly in the Chinese system as well as Indian system, the elements, every you can have a personality of each of the elements can be one more, one less, etc. But in the long run, this earth was made at some point out of some stardust or whatever. And the life on earth exists because of the elements. And yes, they can be devastating and deadly, and they can be bringing life equally. Again, the polarity back to the yin and yang. So
Mhm.
if you are observant, if you are paying attention, if you're aware, that's all you need in order to change your life. If there is something about your life that you don't like, I would
And
leave
see
it at
what
that.
And you
out
talk in the very beginning, you brought up authenticity.
Yeah.
And I think this all ties in as well to that when you are doing things that you don't enjoy because you have to, or you were brought up that this is what you need to do, or just being, like you said, not apologizing for who you are,
Mhm.
dialing yourself back when you're an in your face person and being around people that don't appreciate that and make you dial back. Or if you're a quiet person and people are, can you just talk? What, just, there you're again, that inauthenticity
Yeah.
is creating that stress.
Mhm.
Yeah, and or just resistance to it, I would say.
Resistance to it, right.
Yeah, so
Because
that
it's resisting who you truly are.
yeah, exactly, and it's not doesn't mean so being truly authentic, nobody really can be truly authentic, but we all strive to for sure. In some sense, maybe not all, but most, maybe.
Yeah.
So, but again, the point being in that I feel is your ability to go with what is. That doesn't mean that you're going to ignore things. That doesn't mean that you're going to not do certain things that you're actually supposed to be doing just because you don't feel like it and do you want to be authentic. But given your word, so maybe you do something even though you don't want to be doing it. Perhaps it doesn't feel completely authentic in the moment because you don't want to do it, but you promised. But again, it comes down to the word, whatever you said, and then stay behind your word. So respect to the person, and then being authentic with yourself. If I'm feeling not so well, then I will acknowledge that and I will feel into that, so it can pass. This is a big practice in Qigong and Tai Chi as well. Is because you're moving so slowly, body actually hurts when you're doing that. And through that discomfort, you're learning more about yourself. What's the threshold of your tolerance, right? Where is the tolerance and where is actually the part of you that that can grow? When you go to gym, for instance, you will lift weights and then it hurts, right? Because you're creating tension, it hurts, but without that tension, you couldn't grow the muscle, right? So similarly here, you're learning to release the tension in order to have the energy flow. There are two ways, primary ways to have power, physical power. One is the muscle mass, the other one is energy. And so if for a person of my frame is as less muscle mass, then I have to rely a little bit more on my energy. And this is back to the practice that I do with Wing Chun Kung Fu that was brought into States by Bruce Lee is was developed by originally a while ago back in Shaolin by one of the nuns. And it was a meek, small Chinese nun, and she developed the system to be able to protect herself from bigger, more muscular guys most of the time. And so this specific practice is about a lot more about self-defense than offense. But she figured out the ways how to use the energy, and how to use the most reliable structures, meaning the straight lines, triangles, and circles. So this is the most reliable system that I have learned about. I'm not saying that other martial arts are not awesome and amazing. They are, and they work. I liked this one specifically because it allows for a lot more of an energy exploration. That's again just for me. But then once Tai Chi or Qigong, you can throw it into any art that you're doing. Yeah.
Yeah, and it strikes me too as, like, some of the more common forms of martial arts that in the West we know about, maybe like taekwondo, something like this. I actually grew up practicing a South Korean martial art called subakdo,
Mm.
and it's similar to taekwondo, except it didn't have full contact, and so you learn to stop your punch an inch away from someone's face. And I think they tried to put in a few more philosophical teachings about respect and humility, things like this that I thought were really great for me as a developing child to learn. But something that feels so different to me when you're talking about the martial arts you practice is there's a softness to them. It's like a soft strength
Mhm.
instead of a brute form of power. And ultimately, I think that's why I didn't stick with Subakdo. I went all the way to the point where I achieved my Dan, my black belt, or in that tradition, it's a navy blue belt because it was like a goal. And I
Mhm.
remember the master in the school was like, "No, you can't quit because now that you're at this level, you have to be a teacher and we need you to stay in it. And you don't do this just to
Gotta
achieve
love a little bit
it."
of guilt.
And I had a lot of resistance to that, and
That's
I have a lot of yang, I think, in me, a lot of fire. I'm an
Mhm.
Aries, and I
Activator,
activator, and I'm a Pitta body type
adrenaline,
in
testosterone.
Ayurveda, so I don't like to be told what to do, and so I quit, and it was like, "You know what? I don't like the force here." I
Yeah,
I gravitate so much more towards the flow and the smoothness and that sort of quiet form of strength. And it's so funny, Mark, because I've known you for so long and I've always had the intention to become your student, and it has always felt like the commute is too hard or something. I think the resistance has just been purely convenience, right? Because I have small kids and all the excuses. But anyway, I still really intend that at some point to learn from you because experiencing that form of martial arts that was so hard and forceful, I think it would be really healing for
absolutely.
my nervous system to be able to learn not only self-defense as a woman and as a small person, but also integrating what I value so much with the spirituality. And hearing you talk, I'm just like, God, Kate, why don't you just get to his studio like tomorrow? Maybe Susan, we go together for accountability or something.
I do private lessons as well, so if you're ever
Yeah.
interested.
There you go.
Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe now
because
you're
Yeah.
speaking
I
my
am
language.
fire, but I like the hard, the power, and so I know that for me, I have to be very conscious to do things like the meditation, the breath work for that calm because I am,
Yeah.
right?
Mark,
Yeah.
we have a joke
Eh
between us that Susan is the bull in the china shop and I'm the china. But we're actually in her method of pH 360, we're the exact same number of the exact same body type. So it's really interesting how we express differently from basically the same ingredients.
yeah, it's also the secondaries. She's one that's much more mindful, I'm one that's much more connective, people, variety, need to be doing, multitasker. So we think very differently, and then I've done her DNA as well, and neurotransmitter wise, how we break those down, we're different.
Mhm.
And I'm the very this is why I am the bull because I have a very overactive neurotransmitters. I have a very slow breakdown. Hers is normal. So she's gonna be a little more even keel there. So I need for sure those things that calm me and have a little more of that fire. So yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, I
But
mean, we all have our ways,
yeah.
right? We all
Yeah.
have grown up with a certain precepts, right? Parents, genes, and all that kind of plays in the role as well. But ultimately, I feel, at least to my own findings, through my own practices, is that ultimately the creator of my reality is that person right there.
Absolutely. And
You
we
know?
control the genes. That's the thing. You
Yeah.
have all the genetics, right?
Yeah.
But 95% of the way they express is our control.
Yeah.
So,
Hmm.
and the mindfulness, breath work, movement itself, huge epigenetic modifiers.
Yeah.
It turns up the good genes, turns down the crappy genes. So, for people that are listening, if you're home sitting on your butt thinking, I'm just going to binge another Netflix show,
Mm.
get moving, get mindful, take some of these practices into account because you can change how you think. You can change how your body expresses. We have control. It is
100%.
not
It doesn't even
predisposed.
matter what you do. If you've been
Smooth.
sedentary for a while, you might wanna offer yourself a sampler platter, see how high intensity feels, see how flow feels, how does swimming
Mm,
feel, what about walking?
Yeah.
Try until you find what Marek has been talking about, which is that love and that joy of, "Ooh, that was fun, I really enjoyed that,"
Yeah.
and then do more, dial that
yeah,
up.
yeah.
Yeah. And it's,
Do what feels. Listen to your body. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
absolutely, absolutely. No, definitely listening. And I feel like that's the most important piece is the being aware of what's happening in your space at any given moment. Again, awareness. If you don't have awareness, you don't know you have a choice about doing or not doing something. And this, like we said before, this world is so full of go, 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 do, do, do. And it's not that we can't, it's not that we shouldn't or whatever. It's as long as you're having fun, why not? If you're having
Mhm,
fun and a blast watching Netflix, go for it. If you're having fun indulging in some sort of a food that's not necessarily super healthy, but you're doing it only occasionally, go for it. But create your own routine that's going to serve you more than not, so you are actually progressing. This is a if someone asks me, okay, what would you give any advice? Really just living your life and being aware of who you are. Once you have understanding of who you are, allowing yourself to,
mhm.
at the very least, accept yourself for who you are, especially the parts that you don't feel that you like. That's the hard one, and create some routines or some practices. Create a routine, a new routine that will actually serve that being that you want to become, if that's not someone that you already are. Living into your own potential. We throw it
Yeah,
around like it's a piece of dirty rug, that living into your own potential, but it is so important. This is why we're here. Sure, we can have fun. Sure, we can go to the party, and your soul is here for a reason and is waiting for you to become the part of you you came here to be. So,
yeah. My favorite meme. I and I just wrote it down again today. Was they say that the definition of hell is on your last day on earth when the person you became meets the person you could have become. I love that. I think it's right. I'm telling you, every
Yeah.
time I say that, I get goosebumps every single
yeah,
time,
yeah,
and and it just keeps coming up more and more lately. Like I said, I just wrote it down this morning so I didn't butcher it, and I didn't even
yeah.
plan on saying it today. It was in talking to somebody else.
Well, you
We
said it
just talked
beautifully.
about it last night. So everything timing wise, but it's so true.
Yeah,
Who are who did you come here to be? Stop fighting it, flow, and be who you came here to be. You're here to experience Earth,
yeah,
not to just survive.
yeah, absolutely. And it can sometimes feel daunting. It can sometimes feel easier said than done. I've been there. Yeah, I'm sure you have been there too. It's a and every now and then I'm still there. Still get upset about something, but today I know, okay, that was a trigger. Let me pause. Let me breathe. Let me feel this. Let me let that flow. Okay, what am I feeling? Where is this coming from? Where did I feel like this when I was kid? What am I holding back still? Okay? And there, right there, I will get some sort of an insight and I'm able to let it go. And again, talking back to release. Breath supports the release. We already know that. So paying attention to it. If I feel a little anxious, anxiety can be really actually connected to I'm actually excited, but I just don't know what to do with it. And so people translate it as anxiety, but it isn't. You're just excited,
Mhm.
and you don't have outlet for it. You're not expressing it. So you end up repressing it, in fact. And I know, Kate, you're big into that kind of work as well. And thank you for doing all that beautiful work because that's so much needed here. And then just being attentive really to like what you're feeling. Be with it, sit with it, pay attention.
Yeah. And I wanna share a meme too, because I think memes are cool.
Yeah.
Like, some of them are just pack such power, and this one feels like it shifted our conversation so much about practice and
Hmm.
building the muscle for how we talk to ourselves, how we love ourselves, what we do with our bodies. So this meme says, "The thing about everything," which already is a big statement, the thing about everything. The thing about everything is everything gets easier with practice, so be careful what you practice. And that hit me so hard because so often, Susan and I on a recent podcast talked about words, right? The way that we talk to ourselves. If you're practicing kindness toward yourself, that's going to ripple out and become your reality. If you're practicing movement, if you're practicing looking for the things that light you up, all of those have compound effects that you can't really necessarily see, but you can feel. And as those muscles get stronger, your entire body changes shape, your life changes shape.
Yes. 100% beautifully said.
Yeah.
Yeah. Body is
Love
affected.
it.
The one other, there's several quotes by my most recent teacher that are just ringing bells so much is like frequency precedes form. It's like when whatever you're thinking, that sends out the ripple. Eventually, you're gonna manifest it. Speaking back to this meme that you just used, the quote I love to repeat from my most recent teacher, Peter Crone, he says, "Life,
Oh, I know him.
yeah, yeah, life brings you people and circumstances to help you reveal where you're not free."
Mhm.
And
Love
that's
that.
just
Love that.
wow. So again, back to the opportunity and crisis. When you are triggered, you feel upset. You feel the hormones just like swirling in you and just feel the anger, frustration, annoyance, whatever you're feeling, judgment following, etc. When you feel that, it was brought to you because this is something where you're still not free. If it's brought to you and you are actually free of that in the sense, okay, well, that's their thing. Okay, it doesn't affect me. Okay, then you won't see those things happen anymore. They don't stop affecting you. So if something is affecting me, that means it's living within me. I
Mm.
have the opportunity at this moment in this time to pause, to stop, feel it, find out where it's coming from, and release it. Allow the love to fall back in and then raise the vibration of that love again. And so more you do that, more often you do that, again, back to practice, back to routine, is more often you do that, set yourself to that loving frequency. No, I don't want to say easier, more full your life gets. This is the fulfillment in your life that we get, the happiness, or whatever you want to call it, is that, and we chase stuff. It's like,
Mhm.
like Peter Crone likes to say also, is like a pursuit of happiness. I get that, like, what that means. At the same time, if you have to pursue happiness, you already are accepting that you're not happy. You know, it's like there is already
Yeah.
chasing your own tail in a sense, basically, right? So
Mhm.
just being with that, whatever comes, hard, easy, joyous, painful, doesn't matter. The meaning, back to what you guys were saying, is that what matters. I wouldn't even say words. Yes, words matter, but the meaning that we assign behind those words is what matters. Because if someone talks
Yeah.
to you in Japanese and just pours their soul out, and then they're just feel upset and they just condemn you for something, and you're looking at them going, "Okay, that was weird." You have no idea what they said, right? Because you don't speak Japanese, assuming you guys don't speak Japanese.
I
Uh,
speak Japanese a little,
oh gosh, okay, so
but
maybe
I wouldn't know if
That's about all I know.
maybe Hebrew,
someone was
whatever.
condemning me, maybe I wouldn't really know.
So
That's
still, but
fair.
again, if they're just saying words, they're just putting out sound, and we're making the meaning.
Right.
And that meaning is what hurts us. So the mind that created the meaning is the mind that now is telling you that there's a problem.
Mhm. Absolutely.
What?
Yeah, yeah, we talked about this in a recent episode with Dr. Mario Martinez, the power
That's
of
what I was thinking too.
words and the symbolism that our bodies have learned to attach to words. And I really like what you're saying about how any human experience, it doesn't matter. It makes me think of another quote where there was like one of those stories of the young the young meditation student is asking his meditation teacher, "What's your secret?" And he says, "The secret is I don't mind what matters." Or
Oh, that was a
don't mind what
Krishnamurti.
happens.
Yeah, I don't mind what happens. It's a
I don't
Krishnamurti quote. Yeah.
It's so good. It's and I say this to myself, I can be prone to anxiety and I can get fearful about things that a little catastrophic. We work on it. It's a thing. And I and I just
Podcasting.
right? Or like health stuff. Sometimes I'll get really worried about a health thing that we don't know if we need to worry about yet and probably will go away. And I just say that to myself. I just say, I don't mind what happens because if the thing happens that I'm so afraid of, there could be really amazing gems of learning. We just spoke with a stage 4 cancer survivor recently for our podcast, and he told us that his stage 4 cancer was the greatest gift that ever happened to him. So, can you imagine refusing a gift like that just
Mhm,
because it comes in the packaging of
mhm,
worst case scenario, right? We
mhm,
just have no idea what's in store for our transformation. And if you can hold that perspective of, I don't mind what happens,
mhm.
then you get to be present at the buffet of life and you just say, okay, life, serve me up. Teach me everything I can. Let me experience this while I'm here.
Yeah,
Exact
and why do we have to wait until it gets to a potentially fatal disease to live? It's when people say, I got this and I got me to live." Why aren't we consciously living? We're already dying. Another favorite quote, "Get busy living or get busy dying," because we're
exactly.
already dying. We are all going to die at some point.
Mhm.
So why not live while we're here? And then, Mark, when you said about pursuit, again, like I think pursuit, chase. There's another stress word.
Exactly.
And one of my little cards here I got with a ring a few years ago is it was a wave that was a ring that was a wave. And it said, "You can't stop the waves, but you can learn to move with them. They may not always take you in the direction that you had planned, but they will take you exactly where you are meant to be." And I keep that on my desk and look over to that. I have not referred to it enough lately, but it's so true when we're not in that, I have to have this immediacy, and I just have to fight and pursue and go after. Allow.
Yeah, exactly.
Allow
Those are
and
great
experience.
reminders. Yeah, my 5 principles for my practices are alignment, whether it's physical, emotional, mental, all of it. Then it's the relaxation, so awareness of the relaxation release. Then it's the breath, being aware of your breath, obviously helps you relax. Then it's the your intention, your intentionality, understanding what's happening, where you're going, what's your intent anyway, and then allowing. Allowing is the really last one where is the most important one that is really in completion all the previous ones. The previous ones are just the steps towards the last one where you are in the flow again, coming from the purity of your heart, purity of the creation, and just being with that. And anything outside of that that comes that makes me feel not in line with that, I'll sit with it and just say, "Hey, you know what? You're welcome too." And
Mm.
this is where the world changes because we stop resisting the part, especially like I said before, the parts of us that we don't like. That's the first friends we need to make is the parts of us that we reject. Once that
Yes.
changes, everything changes. And this was like you were saying, Kate, for yourself, my big opportunity with shifting my life around was also one of my heartbreak. The heartbreak was with my ex-wife was the most difficult lesson in my life thus far, and it was the most cherished one also. To
Mm.
this day, I'm grateful for guiding my little human into that form of suffering and allowing my soul to emerge, really, literally.
Mhm.
That's what it felt like, it was just emergence of the soul, and as painful as that was, as much as I wouldn't necessarily wish it upon anyone, I feel that's what we have to experience.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Well, you have to see the difference between from pain and from loss to see gain and joy. It's the contrast. You're not gonna know one if you don't have the other.
Again,
So it's
crisis
just
opportunity.
right?
Yeah. Full circle. That sounds like a good enough place for me to wrap this up, although I think we could probably talk for hours. Maybe, Mark, maybe we do this again sometime.
Thing,
You're always
anytime.
such fun to talk to. So, at the end of every podcast, we like to bring it back to you for you to tell us what are you doing today in your everyday life to cultivate a radiant life through epigenetics?
Mm. On my in my most recent friends, one of my friends suggested a few quotes that she works with, and in my daily practice, I wake up in the morning. I've been doing this for the last several years, but have added things on and taken things out as I go to tailor it best to myself. But wake up in the morning, sit with myself, contemplate the dreams, just welcome myself back into reality, see what I feel like in the body, see what I feel like in my physicality, sorry, in my mental, in my astral body, in my emotions, and then moving with do movement practice, do meditation practice, and then sit with the words that I was going to say is that show me how I can be love today.
Hmm,
I love that.
I love that too. More love.
And if tell let's tell people where you're located because there are some locals that listen and how to get in touch with you and everybody just know that we will have all of Marek's contact information and links that he wants us to have all in the full show notes, but give yourself a shout out now while you're on
All
here.
right. Thank you. Thank you. So you can find me under eclecticground.com. So that's the word eclectic. Oh my gosh. If somebody asks me how to spell it, I'll just say, just look it up.
I think it's
Ask
one
ask
C.
chat.
It's right here.
It's right here, but it's that word.
ECLECTIC.
There you go. So eclectic ground, and I have some presence on social media as well. I post semi regularly, not super regularly. That's something that I'm still working with in my place. I would love to hire someone who can do that. So if you're out there and you like what we're talking about and you are a social media guru, please contact me. And but yeah, on my website you can find really anything. I also have, for those who cannot access me in person, I also have created a library of videos. There's hundreds and hundreds of videos that I have put together, programs. I have Tai Chi level 1, 2, Qigong, martial arts, kickboxing, the Wing Chun Kung Fu. Most recently, I added a workshop that's called Peaceful Warrior, and that's a quarterly workshop that I do in person over a weekend. And this is where we go a little bit deeper into your own psyche, as well as your own creating your own routines and helping you out with that in your own life. So a little bit more tailored kind of practice through this Peaceful Warrior. And I also have the Peaceful Warrior workshop on digitally available for anyone who has done the in-person workshop. Or if you're not local, you can just get it as it is. Obviously, the in-person experience is much better, but you can also get a lot of practice information about what to look at, how to get to know yourself better, and what allows you to, again, love yourself, and especially the part of you that isn't feels unlovable. And that's a big part of my where I'm heading right now. A little teeny bit away from martial arts, just as it is. I'm more leaning towards the holistic coaching and helping people out through either physical practices or mental emotional practices that they can do. Yeah, that's easy to do.
And just to be clear, when I say local, I think everybody that's listens knows that Kate and I are both Colorado. You are, is it Greenwood Village? that I
Yeah,
saw
my
on the.
studio, yes, correct. My studio is in Greenwood Village, Colorado. It's off of, for those of you who are local, 25 and Orchard Station, a light rail station in the area and vicinity. And yeah, I've lived in the area in Denver for actually since I came here. 20, what, 2 years ago? Something like that?
Yeah.
We are fortunate to have you in the area, and I for one, am very grateful for the connection. And Kate, I think we need to do the Peaceful Warrior weekend.
Yeah.
So, Mark, have you read the book The Peaceful Warrior by Dan Millman?
Oh, yes.
Oh my gosh. So that
That's
book
why.
found me when I was in a really dark place.
Oh.
And that was actually a book that I think initiated my spiritual journey. Like,
Oh,
for
beautiful.
me, there's, like, before The Peaceful Warrior and after The Peaceful
Mm.
Warrior, and that book, speaking of the power that words hold, when
Look at
you
that.
say you titled your work, your workshop, The Peaceful Warrior, I just immediately have such a resonance with that, and it's a powerful perspective to be both peaceful and to be a warrior. It reminds me of the Japanese samurai warriors where, like, they're farmers, they're normal people, they're living lives, but they're prepared because if called to battle, they need to have their skills. And so this peaceful warrior paradox really, it suits you. It's so like what you've talked about with your work.
That's why I felt guided to that title of that workshop, was because of that book, because of that movie. It's also a movie if you wanna watch it, Susan. But yeah, book is also,
I'm going to do the audiobook.
yeah, definitely a book is obviously almost always better than the movie, but it's
Yeah.
also interesting to
Yeah.
see. Anyways, but I love that concept of being peaceful and a warrior. Like you said, relative opposites, but in some sense, you're again, the humanity part of you is present no matter what, as you progress through life. And in this, like I said, it's a quarterly workshop. The next one coming up is mid-July, and then I have another one in October after that, of course. But yeah, you're more than welcome to come by if you're ever interested. They're pretty right now. We do up to 10 people, no more, and so it's pretty small group typically, and it's a lot of fun. There's a bunch of one-on-one practice m- with other people, obviously with myself, etc., as well as your own practices, meditations, breath works as well, but mostly feeling the energy and learning about that and how to embody that feeling of the energy into your daily life.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
It's
Thank you for having me.
been a pleasure for us too. So, everybody, you heard how to find Merrick, and all of his information again is going to be in the show notes. Please share this podcast with everybody you know. It may just spark something in them to learn to accept themselves as well. And that's what we're here for, to help you be your most authentic self. So get out there, make it a great day, and be your most authentic selves. Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today. Thank you so much for tuning into our podcast.
If you enjoyed this week's episode, we'd love for you to share it, leave a review or comment, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. Help us get this information out to everyone who could benefit, and we'll keep bringing you the content you crave.
You can also check out our podcast site at everydayepigenetics.co and sign up for our newsletter to stay updated on upcoming episodes. The link is in the show notes.
If you're interested in DNA or epigenetic coaching with Susan, or Radiant Life Coaching for deep inner work with Kate, our contact info is in the show notes below.
Now go and make it a great day and let your most authentic self shine.